Welcome to Write with Love. I'm your host, Sarah Williams, best-selling author, speaker, and creative entrepreneur. Each week, I chat to passionate and inspiring authors about their journey in creative writing. Some are traditionally published, some do it themselves. Everyone's journey is different, and everyone has something interesting to say. We all love love and love what we do. Today's show is brought to you by our amazing fans and supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to help support the show and get some awesome bonus episodes, go to patreon.com/Sarah Williams Author to learn more. Now here's today's show. G'day, I'm Sarah Williams. Thanks for joining me for episode 41 of Write with Love. I'm recording this on Friday the 28th of September 2018. I have a short intro today as it's school holidays at the moment and I'm focusing on my kids instead of my writing. I have 2 books available for pre-order. The Dairy Farmer's Daughter is out 28th of November and you can order it at www.books2read.com/The Dairy Farmer's Daughter, and that's books 2 letter 2 read, and there's no apostrophe between the R and the S. So go to that one and check it out. Do you love Australian rural romance? Annie Seaton, Suzanne Bellamy, S.E. Gilchrist, Anne B. Harrison, S.M. Spencer, Philippa Neffrey Clark and I have joined forces for a combined Kindle-only box set. It's called Outback Hearts and is available now to pre-order for 99 cents, and it will be live on Amazon on December 1st. It is digital only and Amazon only, so I'm sorry if anyone's misses out. It's a collection of some of our favourite and most loved short novellas. And you can go and order that now. You can find more details of that on my Facebook page, Sarah Williams Author. If you would like to join me here in the beautiful Maleny hinterland, I am hosting a writers' retreat from May 31st to June 3rd, 2019. All the details are on my website, sarahwilliamsauthor.com/Maleny, MALENY-writers-retreat. So we will be writing, talking craft and having fun that weekend, and I will also show you all the steps involved in uploading a manuscript to distributors and how to successfully and professionally self-publish. And if you're an author who would like a shout out on the show for as little as $25, send me an email, sarah@serenadepublishing.com, or become a patron at www.patreon.com/Sarah Williams Author for more information. Next week I'm chatting to the lovely Elizabeth Ellen Carter, who writes historical romance. Next week's show won't have an intro as my family is going camping near Noosa and I will be off the grid for a few days. Hopefully getting some work done, but definitely relaxing with good friends and good food. Today I'm talking to good friend and fellow rural romance author Cathryn Hein. We have a few laughs during this chat and I really hope you enjoy it. So thanks for joining me today and here's the interview. G'day and welcome to Write with Love. Today I'm chatting to my all-time favourite Aussie rural romance author, Cathryn Hein. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you. That's a big call. I'm very flattered. Thank you.
So I met you in 2016 at the Australian Romance Readers Association book signing event. Do you remember that?
Goodness. Now, where was that?
That was in Adelaide.
Adelaide, yeah, that was fun.
That was, and I remember going up to you, and because I'd already worked out what books I wanted to get from everyone, and I asked for Rocking Horse Hill, yep, and you didn't have that one. So I said, well, what is your horsiest book? Because I love horses. So you gave me Promises and signed it, and I went home and I read that, and I loved it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was just beautiful, and we'll talk about that book in a minute. But first, can you tell us your story and how you got into being an author?
Well, like many authors, it's something that I've always wanted to do. When I was wrote short stories mainly when I was younger, and then in my 20s, I'd really tried to write novels, but between study and work and more study, it's very, very difficult, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't understand any of the craft. I was just an avid reader, and this is going back quite a few years before the internet had everything. So information wasn't as accessible, I guess. And so I just kept on plodding along. I'd write 10,000 words and then get completely stuck, put it aside, start something else when I had the time, and I just couldn't get anything done. And then in the early 2000s, we moved overseas, and I wasn't working. And in the third year we were there, I said, this is my opportunity. If I don't make the most of this spare time that I have, and sit down and actually write that book that I've been wanting to write for so long, then this is a huge opportunity that I'm just letting go. So I did. Instead of trotting off to the markets every morning as I tended to do, I sat down and I would write every morning, and eventually ended up with a 130,000 word monstrosity of a book, which I still adore, but it has an awful lot wrong with it. But it had some really fun characters, and it had some really cool things in there. So, but just finishing that book for the first time, that was the end of me. I knew I'm doing this now, and I don't think that's an unusual thing for a lot of authors. Like, the thrill of actually finishing a book is so huge, and it's so addictive too. And how many people do you talk to who say, I'm going to write a book one day? Well, I did.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
So then we came back to Australia. I wrote another one, and I joined the Romance Writers of Australia, and I started entering the books in the writing contests that they had, and I learnt an enormous amount. I started going to the conferences. I started reading the newsletter Hearts Talk, cover to cover for the craft articles. I started listening to everything that was written in the online forums, and just grew and grew from there. And then I'd probably written about 5 or 6 full-length manuscripts, and I hadn't really submitted anything. I'd made a few half-hearted attempts with what were, looking back now, quite unsuitable publishers, mainly in the UK. And because once I had those initial, those first contests that I entered with the RWA, I actually realised how little I knew and how bad the manuscripts were. And I'm a really terrible perfectionist. So I wanted it perfect before I start sending things out. Yeah. So I continued to go along that line, and then it just so happened that fellow rural romance author Carly Lane had posted on one of the RWA forums that a publisher had seen her book trailer for one of her rural romances that had just come out with another publisher, and they'd actually contacted her and asked her if she had any more like that. And she'd already signed with Allen and Unwin, but I read that with great interest and thought, I write rural romance. And so I emailed her and said, can you please tell me, you don't have to tell me the editor, at least tell me the publisher. And it turned out to be Penguin. So I then looked at my pile of manuscripts and chose what I thought was the best one and sent it off, and then waited 5 months. And I got an email back that said, this is not quite what we're after. Do you have anything else? And I'm like, do I have anything else? So I had, I was straight back with the next book, and that turned out to be Promises.
Yeah.
So it all happened very quickly from there, and I was lucky enough to get a 2-book deal. So those first 2 books were Promises, which is now called The Horseman's Promise, and the second book which became Heart of the Valley. And what's interesting about I guess, Heart of the Valley is that those initial early works that were so bad and pretty much unpublishable, I took all the good bits out of those works and stuck them in, like the really best bits. Actually, all those manuscripts I wrote in the past, I've picked the best characters and the best plot points and the most emotional bits out of them and used them in subsequent manuscripts. So nothing's been wasted at all from those.
That's really awesome. I love that. And so you've got country roots, and that's why you write rural romance, I'm guessing, yeah?
Yeah. I'm from rural South Australia, right down the southeast of South Australia. Everyone says you're from South Australia. I'm from Adelaide. Like, no, we're 400 kilometres from Adelaide. And yeah, all my family's still down there, and obviously I go home quite a bit, to see everyone, and or as much as I can. It's not as much as I'd like, and also just to soak up the atmosphere, because I tend to set a lot of my stories in that region because I adore it so much, and it's a bit different to a lot of the other stories that you see, which are real outback, and this is agriculture sort of operates in a wide, Australia's very varied in its agricultural operations and climate. So it's nice to have something like that there, I think.
Yeah.
And it's another,
I always find with your characters, they're really, they're gritty. I want to call them gritty. They're not overly romanticized like a lot of other authors do. They've got their faults and their highs and their lows as well. Yeah. So
perfect character, perfect people you just want to hate.
Yeah, that's true.
we all have our issues and so forth. So yeah, I try to make them as realistic as I can. I think I'm getting a lot better at it. I got asked a very interesting question at a panel I did just the other week. About creating characters and whether they were like me. And I think in the initial stages, that might have been so. There was certainly a lot of myself, and I actually used in Promises one of the incidences that happens quite early in the book where a horse bolts. She's working for a racehorse trainer, and the horse bolts on her. That actually happened to me, and I did exactly what she did, which was kick the horse on, because it's what my dad, who was a jockey, told me to do if that ever happened. So so there's certainly stuff that's been used in my own life as characters, but I think I'm getting much better at creating unique characters, so I try not, I tend not to rely on that as much. Although my dad was very funny about the country girl. When he read it, he said, "That's you." And when he was talking about Tash, the heroine, and I said, "No, it's not." And he said, "No, that is you."
Well, Tash is an awesome character. I absolutely love the country girl. So that one came out earlier this year. And let's just talk about it because it is just awesome book. Tell us the blurb for that one, because everyone who hasn't read it just needs to go out and buy The Country Girl.
Yeah, it's really Patrick's story in a way, which is he's the hero. His fiance's been traumatically injured in a riding accident and is lost all communication, needs 24-hour care. And he's young and everyone is trying to tell him to move on. But, in his eyes, he and Maddie were going to get married, and he can't move from that because he made her a promise. And then comes along Tash, who's moved home. She's a hugely popular food blogger, and she's moved back to the farm because she's got a contract to write a cookbook. And it's like the world's happiest girl meets the world's most miserable man, but he's not miserable. He's trying to cope with the new situation he's in.
Yeah.
And she's quite fun because, she just runs rings around him. She won't tolerate him being angry or, She just won't put up with him being the way he is.
Yeah.
And so it turns him around, and it's a wonderful love story, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful, and I remember at RWA last year, I think it would have been, they were talking about we need to make the books a bit more modern and a bit more, yeah, like with social media and that sort of thing. So when you did this one and you were talking, I'm pretty sure she uses Facebook and Instagram and all these sorts of things, even if you don't specifically name it. And, it actually reading that book, and I was thinking, oh, what's my next book going to be about? So my next book has an aspect of social media-ness to it as well. So I loved that. I just thought it was perfect timing, country and the technology of today. So I just, love that book. Definitely, people go out and buy it.
If you're writing contemporary stories, there's sort of no way you can avoid it.
Yeah.
The biggest problem you've got with those sorts of things is stuff dates.
Yeah.
Rapidly. Anything to do with technology dates the books quite. So it's I think I included mentions of Facebook, but I was quite careful about mentions of any other thing because it could go the way of MySpace.
Yeah, exactly.
You just don't know what is really cool today. It might be no one uses it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's it. Taking photos on their phone, and who knows, it might be taking photos on a watch in 5 years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So apart from rural romance, you've also tried your hand at writing slightly differently as well. So the French prize is something else you've had published.
Yeah. I absolutely adore that story.
Yeah.
When we lived overseas, we were in the south of France and in Provence, and it's the history around that area is just incredible. The town I was living with founded by the Romans, and I bought so many books and tried to learn so much about just the history of the area. And I came across this wonderful story. We were going for a trip up through southwest France. We were hooning up towards the Loire. And I read this wonderful story about one of Charlemagne's knights called Roland. It comes from the legend of Orlando. So there's bunches of, it's like an Excalibur type legend. Anyway, he's fighting off the Saracens, and then he's got this magic sword, and he throws his magic sword, and it lands into the cliff face at Rocamadour, and which is just an unreal sort of village that tumbles down a steep hillside. It's on the pilgrim route, and you can actually still see the sword, which is fake, but planted into the cliff face, and that just stayed with me. I loved that story, and I just wormed eventually a narrative out of it, and I thought, oh, wouldn't that be cool? I actually had planned a whole bunch of these kinds of stories because it would be a really great way to have tax deductible overseas trips for research. I have written another one, and it's called the Carlisle Code, but I haven't published it yet. I'm still quite working out what not sure where it fits in. So I do hope that it's going to come out one day. That one's a lot of fun. The French Pride was a lot of fun too. Because I got to write about France, and I got to write about the food and all sorts of wonderful things. So it's very cool. Very fun.
Oh, that's awesome. And so you got the rights back on some of your books, and you've decided to go hybrid. So you've self-published some of them as well. So tell us which books, in case we've read them in the old name.
Okay, so Promises, which is my debut publication with Penguin. It's now called The Horseman's Promise, Heart of the Valley, and Heartland. I nearly forgot my own. Heartland and Rocking Horse Hill and The Falls. I was actually going to rename The Falls to Falls Farm, but it's just much easier to actually stay with the original title. So yeah, all those are now. They're exactly the same books. I modernised a few things in them where it was needed, but yeah, I've put them out on my own now. But I've also got a number of novellas that I've self-published. They're really great fun. So they all, or not all of them, sorry, but most of them are sticking in the same area as Rocking Horse Hill was set, which is around a town called Levenham, and it's got this extinct this volcano. So it's a lot, sort of quite a dramatic landscape. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. And so you'll continue to put out the odd novella and self-publish. Yeah. So tell us, what are you working on now?
Right now I'm working on a novella called Eddie and the Show Queen. It is a sequel to my previous book, Chrissy and the Burrows Boys. This is all part of that Levenham love story series. Yeah. So these are really fun. These are books that are full of a lot of humour, and they're just really sweet, funny love stories where the men usually they have to work hard to get their girls, and they're not ashamed of embarrassing themselves to get there. So I've just written a very funny scene where the hero has to wear a tutu to the pub, and his leotard doesn't quite fit. So, yeah, that's great fun.
Oh, I love it. It sounds awesome. Brilliant. Well, where can we find you online to find out about all of your books and what's coming out next?
This place is my website at cathrynhine.com. And if you sign up to my newsletter, you'll also get a couple of free stories to enjoy over a cup of coffee. And you'll be the first to know when any of the new releases come out as well. Otherwise, I'm on the usual social media suspects, which is Facebook and Twitter and so forth. So.
Yeah, until they get behind the times. Well, thank you so much for that today, Cathryn. It was great. Yeah. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Jump onto my website, sarahwilliamsauthor.com, and join my mailing list to receive a free preview of my books and lots of other inspiration. If you like the show and want it to continue, you can become a sponsor for just a couple of dollars a month. Go to patreon.com/sarahwilliamsauthor. And remember to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a review of the podcast. I'll be back next week with another loved up episode. Bye!